Welcome to Boss Up. I am Nicole Jones, the host of this show, and here at Boss Up, we talk about starting, grow, and sustain your business. Today, I have a special guest with me. He is a serial entrepreneur, he has multiple businesses throughout Atlanta, and today we just want to discuss how do you manage, grow, and sustain multiple businesses in your business. So, Lance, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
So I want you to give a brief introduction because, I mean, you have quite a few businesses that you have here.
That's correct. That's correct.
And you're managing them well. And
hopefully they're generating revenue.
right. That is you have a business.
That's correct. That's correct.
And one of the things that I really want to drive home with this particular show is being able to show our audience, tell our audience what's important about starting your business, how to grow, and how to sustain. And because you not only have one, but multiple, I'd like to at least give like a brief introduction to what businesses you own, and we'll go from there.
Okay, great. My primary business is home improvement and property services. That's just generating management for people in their daily activities. Most homeowners are faced with different type of challenges in owning their home, especially a new time home buyer. So a lot of times they just don't know anything about the house. So that's how I started that business. Of course, the landscaping that correlate with owning a home, a trucking business because you see what's happening on the highways daily,
Yes.
Amazon and things of that nature. So one of the key things that I consider when I think about starting a business is what I see and what I also see needing support. And so you can determine, and are you passionate about it? If you
Yep.
can see a loophole in society that you think you can help with and in process generate some revenue, then you consider starting that business. So that's how I got into most of them, and being passionate about whatever area you want to be in. Don't try to go into computer business if you don't know anything about
interest.
a computer.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
going to spin your wheels.
So you were able to essentially identify the gaps in the market and
Correct.
figure out, this is something I see as a gap. This is where I feel like I can best serve in these different areas. How can I now, create a business around this particular need?
Correct. The biggest thing is, are you good at what you're starting?
Yeah.
A lot of people have numerous ideas on starting a business, but are you good at it?
Yeah.
Do you have a support system? What's it going to cost? You and I talked about cost and what am I going to need? My licensing, my insurance, those things right there can slow people down in their process of starting business. A business. A lot of people say they have a business,
Yep.
but they don't have anything registered with their respective counties and their licenses and their insurance. So
that part scares me.
yeah, it happens a lot. And
Yeah.
and they're not able to get to the loans from the bank, the line of credit for their business. So it's a process that people need to understand.
Yeah.
And they can find that type of information on Google, and they can contact you, and we'll share that with them on the process of actually starting a business correctly.
Correct.
Yeah, so
No, that's awesome. That's great feedback. I do want to take it a step back because
Okay.
I introduced you as a serial entrepreneur.
correct.
Some people that are listening to this show may not know what that actually is. So because we hear the term entrepreneur so often, we
That's
know,
correct.
okay, that means you are a business owner, you're self-employed, or you might be working a 9 to 5 still with a business on the side, working as an entrepreneur.
That's correct. All those apply.
Serial entrepreneur means you have multiple entrepreneurial businesses.
That's correct.
You discussed, a few of those. How many do you have in total?
About five.
5.
About 5 different ways
5.
that I make money. Yes. Yes. When you describe them, you start off, again, I start off with the home improvement. So that's one. I love to go to sports, so I decided to start a ticket broking. That's 2. Then I was doing the landscaping and property management. So as society grew with the Airbnb, guess what? More people were turning their rental properties into Airbnb. So that grew. And then as of recently, as a month and a half ago, my brother and I just started a Logistical Solutions, which is a transportation company.
Wow.
So again, because we see a gap in the market and we just trying to get in there. So when you start talking about serial entrepreneur versus like you said, a 9 to 5 that has a business, both the same, but just I have more than one.
Yep. No, that's
so.
very true. That's very true. So let's go a little bit deeper into you actually going into these businesses. Something that you mentioned earlier, I think, is really key. And you mentioned it's important to have a passion for these different areas. You don't
Correct.
go into starting an entrepreneurial business because it happens to be the next trend, it's the
Right.
next fad, and
Right.
everybody's doing it. Everybody wants to start an eyelash business or something. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, let me get into that because it seems lucrative. But if you have literally not made way into that space at all, you don't even wear makeup,
Right.
you have no interest in that space, it may or may not be the best idea for you to go into those different areas.
Right. Right. So
For
when
you, yeah, I
okay,
want to
I'm
get
sorry.
to like for you, when you went into these different spaces, you had some sort of interest in gaining more perspective and sharing that knowledge in these areas.
Right. Right. When you break them down, like I said initially, as a boy growing up in the South, you cut grass, right? I can remember being a young man, and me and my buddies get together, grab a lawnmower, and knock on door to door, and we would cut the grass for $6 and $7. Now, of course, that was many years ago, and you come to today's society where you have a lot of digital age young men. So your 14 and 15-year-olds, for the most part, they're savvy in telephones and things of that nature, but they're not doing blue collar work. They're not cutting grass. They're not washing cars. Those are, you see them out in society, right? You see car washes and landscaping trucks go by back and forth. So me having done that also let me realize that, hey, it's a lot of work out here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out here that don't cut their own lawns. So, I done it as a boy. My family used to tease me because I was the cousin that's always in his own yard. So I started a business. So I already had the passion. So, and that's important when you're going out there, because you're not out there chasing money. You're chasing your passion, and the money will come. And everything that you do, if you decide to start a business and you want to chase money, you're going to lose. You just be passionate about whatever you're doing, and then you're gonna sustain success. If you look at all the successful things and the people that you see on TV, the digital guys, the telephone guys, the Uber guys, they're extremely passionate about that thing.
Yeah.
They sleep it, they eat it, they drink it, they do it every day. That's all they talk about. Oh, here come Eddie. He gonna talk about some grass. He gonna come talk about selling me a ticket. Now, many years ago, it was difficult for me to go out there and try to solicit work. You get 6, 7 years, 8, 10 years in that. You don't do that anymore. People ring my telephone.
Yep.
Say, hey, I heard you cut grass. Hey, I heard you got tickets to this. Hey, you got this. And it's just that quick. You got to be passionate.
Yeah.
It's going to show in your work. It's going to show in everything that they do. So I encourage people to start with what they like. If you like to cook and everybody says your cooking is good, start right there.
Yeah.
And
I
do your
agree.
research.
I love
Research too. Do your research and know what you're doing.
I love that. I love that, because there might be some people who are watching today who are in that boat where they're saying, I know I want to be an entrepreneur, but I literally have no idea where to start.
Right.
And so tapping into those passions, tapping into those natural gifts and natural abilities that you have.
Right.
This is something I talk with my friends and family about all the time. Like, if there's something that your friends naturally go to you and gravitate to you about, that might be your natural gift, and where you can then flourish and turn that into a lucrative business.
Absolutely.
So it's very key, very important to understand what is it that you innately enjoy, and then turn that into a profitable opportunity, given that you want to go into entrepreneurial space. So,
yeah, I mean, that's very true. I like helping people. That's where I get my kick at. I can tell you a story. When I first initially started my landscaping company, me and a guy named Williams, EJ is what we call him, and we would be riding around, and we were going through a low-class income neighborhood, and a lady stopped us, and her yard was really distressing. She was like, "Can you cut our grass?" And I was like, that was worth more or less really like $100 yard. And she was like, I don't have any money. Can you cut out? Can you help me out? I looked at Will and I said, you know what, Will, let's just do it. So we just cut her grass, and we just told her to give her what she could. She gave us like $10 or $15, but we attained more money in spirit than we did with tangible cash, because when we left, she was happy.
Yep.
And then of course your blessings are going to follow
Yes.
follow that pattern. But true to business form, that's a great passionate story, but in some cases it's not something that I would advise in a business capacity. because I spent money to do that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I also have a ratio that allows me to know exactly how much money I was going to spend in that
Yes.
yard. So other than paying Will, I probably broke even. So I didn't make any profit. I broke even. When you start going in the red, then you have to understand what decision you're making. So to be more focused, having a passion and wanting to make people happy. Some people want to change the world. They want to make things easier for people. That's kind of like a starting point. It's going to keep you going in the lulls of your business because you're going to face those.
What you're looking for, you can find it here on the whole TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the whole TV. What you're looking for, whoa. Welcome to the whole TV.
Freedom. It's at the core of who we are. The freedom to live without fear, to jog where we please, to wear a hoodie. The freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Well, you might not be popular, but my favorite character is Celestial because
One of the quotes that I wrote down in the book that kind of stood out to me was, "Love is the enemy of sound judgment."
She seemed like a very needy woman. And I can't even respect Andre because how do you prey on your friend's wife while he's incarcerated? Like, I just can't get with that. And maybe I got too invested in the book,
I love that story. That's perfect. It's a great segue into, I want to talk more about the financial piece in business and how to operate that. But what you just spoke to essentially gives weight to if the old saying, if you were to actually do something for free, what would that actually be? That was somewhat in the same reign of,
That's
this
correct.
is what I would do because I passionately enjoy helping people and what I do in terms of landscaping.
Right.
Something that's really key, that what you just said, was the ratio. You knew, this lady, she didn't necessarily have the funds to contribute the $100 for landscaping, which is what I would typically charge. However, it was the giving aspect, but you also, from a business sense, knew I had enough capacity to do this based on what she could give me.
Correct.
You knew your numbers, essentially, is what it boils down to. How do you, as a serial entrepreneur, balance multiple businesses and the financial piece across all of those?
Well, you do your research. You stay current on trending pricing fluctuation. Like with the transportation business, know how diesel costing you per mile, so forth and so on. If you're baking cakes, how much your eggs cost, how many eggs you need per cake.
Yep.
And you break that down all the way to the lowest level. There's no level lower. If it costs a penny and you pay a penny every week, you need to have that 4 cents on your monthly finance document. You can't go wrong with that. And so when you're starting a business, it's important to know because so many times, depending on like in home improvement area, you want to do well. I give you a live example. When you start talking about budgeting, you have a gentleman that works for you. His typical pay might range from $150 to $200 a day. You got a job that's going to take you 3 days. His pay is $246. Whatever you quote that lady or that gentleman, it's got to be more than $600 because you already know you're going to pay $246 to this gentleman.
Exactly. Got to bake in that margin, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're breaking down your business costs, you know exactly where you need to be, where your business needs to sustain. If you had to go on a percentage, I would tell people the business and myself are going to take half. The employees are going to take the other half. So out my half, the business fluctuates. Sometimes the business might take my whole half. You know, if you running something with expensive equipment and your equipment goes down, you're gonna lose your whole half. But if you run good, then you take care of your stuff. It should be, at the end of the day, you should start looking at about just that: a 30% going to your employees, a 30% going to yourself, 40% going to the business. Even though it breaks down at 50 and 50, the pendulum is gonna swing a little bit, but you controlling that. So you got to know your finances when it comes to your business.
No, that's so key. Very critical because it shows if you actually have growth in your business.
Right.
You could be running your business for 5 years, but if you don't know your numbers, you could literally be running into the ground.
Right.
I think another natural question behind that is what tool? Oh, go ahead.
Just keep in mind, the IRS is tracking you.
Yeah.
And
They
only
at the
gonna
door.
let you. And they want, when you say for 4 or 5 years, they only gonna let you lose for 5 years.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know?
If you're not generating income,
if
yes.
you're not generating income,
Yes.
you got a limit. See, that's things that people need to research.
Yes.
So when you do your taxes and you're saying, "Oh, I spent 50,000, made 50,000, so I didn't make any money," you got about 5 years to get that together, and they're gonna come knocking on your door.
Great point.
So,
Great point.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That was good. That was a good added input because speaking of tracking, what tools and resources do you use to help manage multiple businesses in the financial space?
I mean, you know, depending on the type of business you have, it's going to dictate that. You know, whether people want to use. I don't want to be a advocate for a platform or something like that, but you got several different, you know, QuickBooks type programming that you can put on your computers that'll manage your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Your personnel, you got you got companies, again, I won't say the names, but you got companies that you can solicit and pay them a fee. They'll take care of your payroll. They take care of all that for you. The management, invoicing, just depending on how your business is growing. And of course, I encourage that.
Yep.
Because it can get to the point where it's overwhelming. One of the challenges that a lot of limited liability companies faced during this pandemic was that they weren't entitled to some of the revenue that was given out. The PPPs and things of that nature, they were missed initially because they didn't have a financing agency that was turning their paperwork in. Of course, the government came back and revamped it, and of course, they were able to get some help for their payroll. But using those type of organizations ensures a lot of times that you're going to be qualified.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't have a business account, you're not going to get a business line of credit. You have to. Most people don't check those boxes. They start a business, they make a few $100s here and there, and they think they're off to the races. You got to show the big boys with the money that you're making money, so they can give you more money, so you can make more money. Don't forget what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're trying to build something. When you get past the passion, when you get past the love you like for doing whatever you're gonna do, you got to make the money. You got to get that ball rolling. In order to do that, you got to follow the guidelines that they have.
Exactly.
Secretary of State, license, bank account, insurance, production, deduction, profit. And then from there, you moving forward. There's so many businesses out there.
Yeah.
There's so many things people do. Real estate, you see them popping. You see everybody coming up and down with it, right? You see them, boss up. They bossing up out there. But they sometimes you see them going around it, pop-up shops, the latest trend, which is great.
That is, yeah.
You see all these different things. What does your paperwork look like?
Yeah. I think that's a good trend that we've been talking about in each part of which you've been able to share. The track record is you need to have documentation.
Absolutely.
You need the paper trail to show that you are a legit business. Starting out, you just trying to get your bearings. You're trying to get the research in terms of how should I register my business, the license, the state, the county, the bank account, so on and so forth. But even after you do that, in those initial steps, you still have to have that track record to show that you are being a legitimate business.
Right. And you got, I failed to mention that I came up with a male product line, a beard, cream, and, facial, and something that I've been working on.
Okay,
maybe
come
about
on, male
4 or
product
5.
line.
Yeah. NB products, And again, I saw something there. I saw the men trending with the beards. everybody was wearing the beard. They started going to facial hair being more societal acceptable.
Yep.
And in that process, I went to Walmart and I went to that section, and there wasn't that many choices. So keeping in mind that when you want to encourage people, so you guys out there that want to start a business and you think it's plenty businesses out there, there's always room for one more. You know,
Always.
there's always room for one more.
Yes,
They
you hear
got
that
room
often.
for you. So
Yes, yes.
go ahead and give it a shot, and each person has their secret. You know, so just follow people that are doing it correctly, that are generating revenue. Don't follow somebody off a cliff. YouTube is a great source for whatever business. And I tell you another thing, I will actually go on YouTube. See, if a person say they want to own a business or do something, they want to be this way and that way, and they're not doing their research, don't even talk to them. You can start with YouTube, hours upon hours on each subject. 2 nights ago, I'm looking at transportation videos. I'm watching a guy drive a truck across the country. Yeah.
In awe.
Yeah, just watching.
That's what they call YouTube University, because
Yeah.
you literally use it as your crash course into what
yeah.
you're trying to get
You
into.
got to do that.
So something, I'm going to take it back a little bit. Something
Okay.
you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the employees being
Right.
able to have that team behind you, that support system, I think is what
number
you
one
said
asset.
specifically. How did you begin to band together this support
Okay.
system across your business? Because I think there's one thing to want to start a business, get that situated and set that foundation. Then the second part is, who is it that I can trust to help me in building and growing this business? How did you go about doing that?
Okay, well, the truth of the matter is that's always ongoing. It never stops. You get immune to it. You get a shell that you're defensive to. Just trust, and you start pulling in your baby. To help people out, I would give you this: you're never going to find yourself. Your right hand man, your CEO, whoever you identify, he's never going to be you, because he's not the owner of the company.
Mm-hmm.
You're the owner of the company. So that decreases your expectations. Also keeps you alert that no matter who I hire, they're not going to do it like I will.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a little bit more lenient, but more alert. He's not going to go the extra mile. Everything's serious. To him, you lose a customer cutting grass. Oh, I just lost $50. To me, as a business owner, I'm saying, yeah, but I cut a yard twice a month for 9 months. You lost $50. I lost 900. You know, but he's not me, so why would he think that way? So when you go to the personnel management piece, you know, it's America. It's up and down. You know, you have a guy, he here, next week he gone. You don't linger on it too much. What you focus on is the treatment of those people. You try to treat them fair, no favoritism and things of that nature, and they are your number one asset. I've had jobs when I had a team in place. I want to say at my height, I probably had about 14 guys. I had a phone book, 14 guys I can call in there. Not at one time where we was doing a mall or a large property, I would have as many as 14 people out there.
Wow.
So that's not it's not hard. They know what their job is. You start appointing guys, and you always have a right hand. Like to this day, I have a right hand man.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna do everything I say, make sure everything he knows the cost. He's kind of knows that he's privy to all the information I am, and it costs me a little bit more. But trust is not, you know, you're gonna have to pay for that trust. Give him something to lose. That's my advice as well. You know, you paying a guy minimum, he's not gonna be trustworthy. Family, husbands and wives, they great secretaries when you start off. Whether male, you know, whoever owned the business, somebody can do your paperwork when you're starting. Sons and daughters, support system, aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandfather, friends. Hey, I'm baking cakes. Everybody order a cake. Tell somebody, and then that person tells somebody.
Right.
And, you know,
right.
so personnel, marketing, all that goes hand in hand. But depending on your business, you hire them as you need them.
We're back on our Thanksgiving installation.
back to a boil.
If you're having a large event with people of mixed vaccination status, there are a few different things you can do to keep Thanksgiving dinner safer.
No one's safe. In this case, when it comes to holiday gathering, there are not safety in numbers. Referring to people that you have actually been around during the pandemic, people that might not be directly a part of your household, but you're familiar with their behavior. They are also taking the same precautions that you are. You know, having small gatherings with that group of people is considered safer.
I think the key point that I took away from that was just to be fair,
Right.
because you want these people for the long haul, to be there for quite some time. There's not a lot of turnover in your business, so you want to treat them. You want to keep the financial aspect top of mind because it is your business and you want it to be lucrative. But however, you want to also know that this is a human to human interaction. These are people that they're not just robots working for me. These are people who have lives, they have families, so I want to treat them as such. So I know if I'm able to connect with them in that way, they're in it with me for the long haul, considering they don't want to move up to different opportunities.
Well, yeah, that's an accurate statement. Depending on the businesses that we have. Let's just talk about some of the common business that we see in urban America. We see hair salons, barbershops, car washes, mechanic shops, tire shops that are owned by us. When I've learned that me having a guy long term is probably unlikely, and I've accepted that. But also what role I've placed is I want him to start his own.
I love that.
So keep in mind that my right-hand man, he might make 40 to 45 or maybe even a 50,000 a year. But that's capping me out as the money as I generate. He's putting me, I'm paying him out. You're the boss. So it's like, hey, this is where at 55 I can replace you. So you kind of grooming them to a point that
That's
if they have a go-getter attitude, keep that in mind as well too. If they have a go-getter attitude, then you want to make sure you have given him the tools to start a business. And I've done that. So I've got guys that run their own trucks and things of that nature, and they call me up. Hey, I'm in a jam. Come get me out of the jam. Or I might call them up. I'm in a jam. Where you at? Because you had a relationship and you gave him mentorship. Even though he's not your right hand anymore, he's out there and he's established his own business. And that's what you want to do. You don't, especially in our community, smaller businesses, it's very difficult. If we all fortunate, depending on the business you grow.
Yes.
Again, the type of business, know what your business can do. Hair. I got a cousin, Ebony. Shout out Ebony Chanel. She's doing really good. She's doing really, really well. She's over 6 figures.
Wow.
And she's not even 30.
Congratulations.
She does hair. So does she need a large? She's giving it in, shipping it out. But does her dad's my uncle? But does my uncle get packages in the mail every once in a while? He got to take them to the post office? Absolutely. Your family can be your support. So And those are the different type of things. We are African Americans and us good folk, we are not recognizing the revenue that doing a business can generate for your household. Whether it be just that, whether it be baking cakes, whether it be doing small things. $100 a week, $5,000, $200 a year. That's how much extra. You do that twice, they're gonna bump you up a tax bracket. You make 10 more thousand this year than you made last year, you're gonna go up a tax bracket.
Yep.
Now, what can you come up with to do that? If people had that attitude, we would start to catapult. That's an entrepreneur, though, right? That's a serious entrepreneur. That's how he thinks. Like everybody should think the same way. Why you don't have a business?
I actually was going to pinpoint on that because you mentioned you had to have that goal-getter mindset.
Right.
It's a mentality. Being an entrepreneur is not just a buzzword. You have to be mentally there, physically there, and like be present in that moment to understand this is what I actually need to contribute to my business, to my community, to my employees in order for this to be successful. So I think that's super key. And I love that you use the word grooming when it comes to actually nurturing the people who are on your team, because that is super critical. It's very important because that's what you want. That's how I envision, you know, as I onboard people into my business, that to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's what we all want.
Okay.
You know, so I think I would encourage people to just get out there and try. You know, be motivated. Do your research, save your money, you know. Also be careful that, I was just telling a friend of mine that she does eyelashes and makeup. And as the pandemic hit, her business slowed down. So sometimes you're fortunate enough to have, I hate certain words. I don't like entrepreneur as a word, like I don't like hustle. You know.
Okay, I like entrepreneur better than I like hustle.
Of course, they have great. You know, you're not educated, you're a hustler. You get more sophisticated, become an entrepreneur. So I was just telling her, sometimes a hustle, the term using like those smaller businesses, get you over the hump when you have a normal job. That's your side job.
Yep.
And sometimes it can fluctuate. So a piece of advice for the people that really want to start, if you work at a business, a company, and you want to start your business, make sure before you jump off the cliff that once might be seen successful, that was really just doing it. You know, you got
As
a
a side
500 guarantee coming in, and now you got a 200. Be careful.
Yep.
Just be careful. But it's also a great way to increase your lifestyle. I'm not saying that your business is going to be in everybody's house, nothing like that. I'm not saying that you're going to fail either, but it's your lifestyle change. It's being able to take your kids, get them something on Christmas, take them to Disney World once a year. That's all you're trying to do initially.
Okay.
We'll talk about getting to the big bucks on another episode, but initially you're generating positive revenue and you get happy and motivated, and you're fulfilling your internal dreams. Entrepreneurship.
I love it.
A guy who really, really wants to make business and make a little revenue. That's a real entrepreneur. It's not hard for him. It might be hard for somebody else, but not him. He gonna go do whatever.
I love it, Lance.
Thank you.
You left the people with some advice. Like, that's homework for everybody who's at home, able to take that advice from Lance. I appreciate you being here, being so open with all your business, your advice, your tips. I think this is something that people can really take home with them, use as homework. Think about, how does that now apply to my business? How does that apply to me actually being an entrepreneur?
Right.
And what does that look like? What are some things that I had not considered? So thank you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys for watching Boss Up, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.